Virginia's new assault firearms law isn't just signed, it's signed, sued, and awaiting clarification. The last part is the story. Because when a bill gets signed and the signing statement basically says, we still need to clarify part of this, that's not a footnote. That's a light blinking on the dashboard. This is No Works. Today we are breaking down Virginia's House Bill 217 and Senate Bill 749. What was signed, what changes on July 1st, why the feature-based definition matters, why the governor's own signing statement raised a scope issue, what the lawsuits do and do not change right now. This is legal news commentary, not legal advice. If you are making an actual transaction, moving to Virginia, planning an estate transfer, the short version is this. Governor Abigail Spanberger signed HB 217 in May 2026, and the law goes into effect on July 1st, 2026. At the time that this should be published, that's going to be about a month away. If you're in Virginia, you don't have a lot of time to get everything in order. The bill targets future sale, importation, manufacture, purchase, and transfer of firearms that meet Virginia's definition of an assault firearm. And you can just substitute assault firearm with assault weapon that everybody else uses to describe these type of firearms. It's the same thing. I don't see why we need to keep making up new terms for this class of firearms. Just call it what it is. It's a firearm that you're afraid of. You're scared of how it looks. That's it. It's not doing anything special. It's not doing anything crazy or like everything that everybody talks about. It's just not it. It's a semi-automatic modular firearm, semi-automatic rifle with a detachable magazine, or a semi-automatic handgun with a detachable magazine. And I'll get into the features and all that kind of stuff, but this is basically par for the course at this point when it comes to bans, but we'll go through it. The Virginia governor signed a feature-based ban that even the governor's announcement said hunting firearm language still needs work. Almost all of these are hunting firearms. It just makes zero sense to me. In the governor's May 15th signing announcement, she said the General Assembly did not adopt her proposed amendment that would have specifically carved out firearms frequently used for hunting. She said she will work with the patrons to clarify the language. Put plainly, the law is signed, but the cleanup conversation is not over. We're gonna have some lawsuits to go with. That matters for this channel because people will hear assault weapons ban or assault firearms ban and immediately translate it into whatever their preferred shorthand is. One person hears AR-15, another person hears scary looking rifles, and yet another person, it won't affect my hunting gun. Problem is that the statute doesn't care what we call things. It just goes by the definition. So before arguing about the headline, start with the useful words. Import, sell, manufacture, purchase, transfer. These are the verbs that tell you what changes in daily life. This is mainly a future transaction law. So after July 1st, when this goes into effect, certain things won't be allowed to be bought in the state of Virginia anymore. It's not a confiscation. The definition is feature-based. That's where the simple headlines start falling apart. It can reach certain rifles, certain pistols, certain shotguns, depending on their configuration. And we've seen this over and over. So is this covered is not answered by how you feel, internet forums, whether the photo used for the article looks like your firearm. It's going to be based on features. That's why the hunting clarification line actually matters. If a law is so broad that the governor says that a hunting firearm carve-out still needs to be clarified, then normal owners should be careful with their assumption. It does not mean that every hunting firearm is covered. It also does not mean that every hunting firearm is safely outside the conversation. It means you need the actual language, not just a headline. Now, what does this not automatically mean? It does not mean that every semi-automatic firearm in Virginia is suddenly covered. It does not mean that current lawful owners need to turn their stuff in by July 1st. And it does not mean that a lawsuit has already blocked the law. Those are three different claims, and mixing them together is how the internet turns into a group project that nobody wanted. Existing firearms do have limited paths left in the enacting text. There are exceptions for things like selling to a dealer, selling to somebody out of state, temporary transfer to a gunsmith for work, inherited, importing pre-ban firearms that you already own, range loans, and gifts to certain family members. That is meaningful, not just business as usual. The law also covers magazines over 15 rounds. They're handled a little bit differently. But the law also creates a 3-year probation on possessing, purchasing, or transporting a firearm after you've been convicted. So just think, you're going to break a firearms law. You're going to have a 3-year probation because it's a misdemeanor. That's not a parking ticket. That's the part where the paperwork bites back. And then there are lawsuits. they matter. The governor signed a bill. Gun rights groups filed lawsuits in both the state and the federal courts. They're arguing that the law reaches commonly owned firearms that are protected by the Second Amendment. Supporters argue that it's a future sale restriction aimed at public safety, because every time these are aimed at public safety. Public doesn't get any safer, but here we are. Both arguments are now in the legal system, but filed does not mean blocked. A lawsuit is news. An injunction is a different operating environment. As of this recording, I'm not aware of any injunctions that will stop the July 1st effective date. So if you're making real plans, plan for the law as it is written, as it should be going into effect on July 1st, not from somebody's confident prediction of what a judge may or may not do. We've seen this in Illinois, where they passed a bill similar to this. One judge set an injunction, said, nope, can't go into effect. The state appealed it, and that judge was like, yeah, it can. So everybody was confused. Nobody knew what to do. When that happens, the dealers clam up because they don't want to get in trouble. Citizens don't know what to do. We don't want to get in trouble. So be careful. Be mindful. And if there is an injunction, I'll almost bet it gets backed off right away. So the practical takeaway is this. This law goes into effect on July 1st. Focus on what the law actually says, what features or constitute whether a firearm is banned or not after July 1st. Magazines over 15 rounds, they're banned after July 1st, period. I'm also interested to see what this hunting firearm language is, because I know there were some questions about that, and I believe there were some questions about transport that will need to be clarified. And keep an eye on the lawsuits, but those are just lawsuits. This is going to have to go through the legal system, assuming that the Supreme Court does not pick up a current assault weapons or assault firearms ban that is in front of it right now. Currently, the Illinois ban is in front of the Supreme Court. They have not picked it up. The window's closing. I'm not sure if they're going to pick it up. I believe they can pick it up for next term, which is in October, but that still puts us a whole year away. The people who handle this the best will not be the ones that are yelling the loudest. They will be the ones that slow down, keep records, separate your assumptions from the text, and verify before they act. If you want the next layer, I can do a simple plain English walkthrough of the features and how that all plays out, or works at least. And I can do it with examples, stuff without getting into all the excess legal stuff, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal guy, but I can give you my best read on it. I'll be covering this and what happens in the courts as anything major comes up. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff that everybody asks you to do. It really helps.